Oh, time is flying. Where is it all going? You'd think from day 3 to 7, which is this update video, that I would have achieved a lot more. But no, it's the weekend. I'm a dad of three, and also I have a business called Archery. So last Friday, I had to spend some time researching the remote procedure calls for Photon Unity Network. I'm still yet to implement that, but now I understand that when we have collisions under the Photon Unity system, we have to use remote procedure calls to notify each of the clients in our game what our player has observed. So if I've decided that I'm about to kill an opponent's player, I actually need to send them an RPC message and they need to agree, I believe, and then their player will die. So our current mechanism is if I have consumed more points and I'm a bigger fractal, I should be able to consume my opponent. That was my Friday. Saturday, Sunday, complete write-off for me. I'm out with family activities. It's pretty hard for me to get too much work in. Usually at best, maybe it's 1 to 3 hours. And for me, it's sort of like a maintenance sort of thing. I can't dig too deeply into, say, coding and learning. For me, it's like, I've got a website issue, something urgent that I need to get to. This is my business in Melbourne, Australia. We've probably been losing $50,000 to $80,000 every year at the moment because we've been locked down more than 50% of the year each year. This is my business that, let's see if we can get some audio. That has, I worked on this about 5-6 years ago, started it. And it finally, after 4 years, was getting to the point that it was breaking even. It was finally covering rental costs, and we're getting enough customers to pay staffing, insurance, facility costs, and everything, and hopefully start to pay off our fit out costs. So this operation has been a massive negative for me financially, but it was rewarding to create as an experience nonetheless. That was the arcade room, everything there. Me, my brother, and my brother-in-law actually built the whole place with our bare hands. I mean, the actual building was an empty warehouse. We decorated it, we designed it, we put in those floors, we got the inflatables, our branding on it, our bows, our entertainment there with TV set up. There's more TVs there now. But the problem is, in Australia, we're the first venue that gets shut down because COVID has caused major lockdowns in Australia. We're starting to sort of get moving again, but the problem is there's now a reluctance for people to go out because they don't want to get stuck in a quarantine situation. So an activity like ours, where you get 10 to 40 people to get together and play sport, is revenue drop has been insane. But nonetheless, I've been having to deal with some of those issues, whether it's customers all of a sudden not appearing, on Monday catching up with my brother who helps manage the whole operation, or needing to do pay runs. So anyway, unfortunately my Monday got consumed. So, and this is part of the reason I didn't want to necessarily do a collaborative effort with too many people formally. I just got too many things that can pull me in different directions, whether it's family, business, or whatever comes up. Tuesday, so yesterday, was me doing more researching around the Photon Unity networking system, and trying to work out how to share usernames amongst systems, so to start the process of building a leaderboard. The reason I decided to hit this up is I was hoping to use the leaderboard as a bit of a mechanism so I can visually display how many points each player has. So when I have a collision, I can get, oh yeah, it makes sense that player 123 has just consumed player 124. So if I show you what that looks like, I won't go through any code education today because I dare say my understanding is not as strong as I feel it needs to be for me to educate on the matter just yet, because I'm only just freshly deploying and constantly debugging and trying to understand the ins and outs. And in this video, because I just really wanted to get an update out there, I'll keep this short, sharp, and shiny, and we'll simply do a build. So when you're building a game in Unity, especially when you're doing networking, what you want to do is a build and run. Let's make sure I haven't already done that. I have a build and run, which essentially builds the exe that I would be sharing with everyone. Once it's launched on this is a separate. Essentially, it's a separate game. It allows me to simulate networking. This client here is connecting to the Photon Unity Network. This client here, which is my actual internal development engine, I can click play on and it will run, and I can actually join that same game. And this is the leaderboard. Now this is not how it's going to look. I literally just threw up a canvas and I wanted to start collecting some data. And I've also got an automatic name generator, which is just putting in player and then a random interval between 1 and 9999. So it's just so I've got that information there. My next step now is to utilize, this is another thing that I've actually implemented. So if I collab with another character, it will check how many points that other character has. I've temporarily also made everyone quite small. Let's see if I can find my character. And I've slowed down the spawn rates just for testing because I was having another issue that right now I was spawning them so quickly that I was spawning over 1,000 droplets, and 1,000 droplets seems to be a limitation on the network. So I was coming up with max network IDs. So I need to research, can I have more than 1,000? Do I handle it a different way? So this player here, if I just find out whose it is, on my right-hand side, let me just move my screen across. So I have public variables declared within this Fractal player script. I've been moving a lot of my code and refactoring it into this Fractal player here to try and have a lot of my logic within the one script. Whether or not that's best practice, I can't say. I've just seen that some other people have done it that way, and I'm playing around in all flavors. I'm happy to do bad programming practice, good programming practice. At the end of the day, from my perspective, I feel like you can only become a good programmer when you first become a bad programmer. So you can see the flaws in what people say as, spaghetti code or bad code practice. And at the same time, even if you're a fantastic coder, sometimes you understand that you need to do lower quality code to simply achieve an outcome. If you've only got a small delivery in software and you're never going to need to refactor that code or enhance on that code ever again, or you think you won't, then you don't necessarily need to, build all of these classes and this, amazing framework that takes you 1,000 hours to deliver something that someone else could have delivered in 10 hours to deliver the same functional outcome for your customer, even though you're never going to work on it again. You got to balance this up. So from my perspective, I'm just happy to get the objective. I want to see a game that's working. And if this product becomes something that's successful, then, I can continue to improve my knowledge, refactor code, take it from there. So in this instance, what we can see, now my phone's ringing, mute that. Now what we can see is, yes, as I'm going around, I'm getting 1 point based on each snowflake. Potentially it could be more or less. Maybe if someone has a purity of, say, 0.7, each snowflake they consume, let's say purity might relate to how efficient they are from a conversion perspective. Maybe. So like if every snowflake is worth 1 point, maybe a 0.7 purity is like 70% of that 1 point is what you receive. So you grow quicker if you say had a higher purity, you're like a 0.9996. It means you almost get the whole point. So there's another way I was thinking maybe we could utilize it. So as we can see, my points over here on the right-hand side in my inspector, because I've made it a public variable in the script, or I've made it what's called a private variable, but I've serialized the field, which is a function you can use in Unity to expose private variables to the UI. The reason you would do that is you want to keep it private so other scripts can't modify that variable. So you're keeping it what's called in scope to that script. But when you serialize field it means you can also modify the variable here and see the variable in the editor as you're playing the game. So what we should see is that points numbers goes up. As I bump into people, I've also got a log message so there's this tiny little fractal here. I'm just going to bump into it. It's going to come up saying that the opposing fractal has my fractal is 37 points. The opposing fractal has 10, so I'm consuming them. Now I haven't sent the RPC messages across to kill that player yet, but what I have deployed, and it's a little bit clunky, not gonna lie, is when I bump into them, I will get bigger. I will consume the 10 points that they hold. So it's sort of simulating what would occur if I killed them, and I got bigger. Now the only problem here is I've also, and hey, if anyone's watching that knows Photon Unity better than me, hit me up. What I'm finding, let me just move this out of the way. I am redoing what's called the transform scale of my player each time it bumps in. So I'm saying scale is the size. Let's change the size to be a certain product of my total points. So if I'm 30 points, then I'm 0.3 scale. If I'm 100 points, I'm 1 scale or whatever. This attribute is a calculation, but for some reason across the network, when the calculation takes place, and my photon view is what's called a photon view, is the network object, is being updated, I'm blacking out. How weird is that? I didn't have that problem previously when I would do increments. So right now I am recalculating the total size of my character, whereas previously I would say increase size of my character, and it didn't seem to cause this defect across the network. So I've got the ability to remove this issue by saying, look at that, now it's, and the rotations, I haven't worked out how to sync that yet. That's fine, I'll fix that up. But So I can fix my problem by simply saying, hey, I want to increase by X amount every time we consume a point, rather than recalculate what my size should be each time. But the problem with that is if we go out of sync between my clients, maybe my client has grown quicker than the other person's client. So if there, for some reason, if a message was lost, God forbid, I don't know, then our clients are out of sync, and I'm trying to. I just got players which don't seem to be agreeing, whereas my current method is always sending what's my current transform, because I'm setting the current transform or the current size of my object upon each collection of the droplet and upon each collision with another player. So I've got some things to think about. There's pros and cons of different ways that I'm going about things. Obviously, there's a big con at the moment that I've got flickering fractals. But that's where I'm currently at. Just a brief update. Yes, and one other thing from I've been reading through Unity documentation, and then to top it off, I've been actually downloading some demo profiles. So the Photon Unity network actually comes up with demos. So you can actually play their demos. So you learn how the game works, play the game that they've created. You have a couple of network objects. You work out how they interact with each other. You see how they've done the networking system. You create a room name, max players. So once you fully understand how this game works, I'm just saying what I've been doing, the menu system, the screen changing, transitioning from screen 1 to screen 2, play with the game, press space, shooting, getting other players in, taking a look at their leaderboard. Once I know everything, how it all hangs together, then what I do afterwards, and I've been working on now, is going, okay, I see how that works. Cool. I have the ability to then better understand the code that's behind the game. So how are they achieving that? I can go into the Photon Unity demo section, open up the demo asteroids, and there's this script section. And I look through the game scripts, so the scripts that relate to the game, not the lobby, and I can actually read through each of their scripts behind each of the different objects in the game. So I can take a look at the spaceship, I can take a look at all the different attributes they have. In particular, I'm really interested in the networking, because that was a networking game. So this section here, Photon View, I'm taking a look at this Photon View holds the location of player, where are they, their rotation and their size. So I can take a look at, see how they're doing that. All the times they're referencing that Photon View, seeing if they're doing something that I'm not doing. All these different ideas, and I can take a look at, why do they have a controllable attribute? What could they possibly be achieving by having that? I could potentially remove this code, rerun the game, and see, okay, that's how it runs when they don't have a variable that they're using in their if conditions and what have you. I can take a look at where they're sending data across the network by taking a look at all the times they reference this Photon network namespace, which is essentially the whole package of networking libraries. So I can hop through the code, I can look through different sections, destroy spaceship, which is one thing I'm going to be interested about. They have this declaration here which says pun RPC. So from my understanding, that actually means that this particular function can be called via an RPC message. So I could have player 2 be hit by player 1, and player 1 saying, send a remote procedure call to player 2 and tell them I want to run the destroy spaceship function. And then player 2 will run the destroy spaceship function. This is how I need to go through it, and that's my next sort of test. Now, today it's 4 p.m, it's Australia Day, so I've been out with the family, and sorry, I got a little bit burnt actually. I had a cap on all day, so I've gotten a little bit toasty out at the beach with the kids and the missus. So it's 4 p.m. now, and I've got to head out. Essentially, I'm going to be working for the next 2 hours. Hopefully, maybe if I'm lucky, getting RPC up and running for today, which will be day 8. And then if I'm lucky, maybe tonight, getting a couple of hours in once all the kids have gone to sleep. So fingers crossed, we have some RPCs in the next video. Anyway, thanks for your time. Hope you guys are going well. And great job to everyone that did the F100 pitches today. Cheers, guys.